The Archbishop of York has taken charge of the Church of England at one of the most turbulent times in its 500-year history.
Yes, Stephen Cottrell took over after the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, was forced to resign over the way that he handled a prolific child abuser. But Stephen Cottrell, the Archbishop of York, is now hoping to spread the power of prayer. He has a new beginner's guide to the Lord's Prayer at the same time that there is a slight uptick in interest in Christianity amongst young people.
The Archbishop of York, Stephen Cottrell, joins us now. We'll talk about this very interesting book about the Lord's Prayer in a couple of seconds, but let's deal with this issue of David Tudor, first of all. I mean, multiple allegations of sex abuse against him, stretching back years. And you say that legally, at the time, there was nothing you could do to actually get rid of him. But twice you reappointed him as area dean, knowing his record. Why didn't you pull him into your office and tell him his fortune?
Well, first of all, I was the one who removed him from office. So I suspended him in 2019, which led to his complete prohibition. And I did that when new victims came forward. Unfortunately, it wasn't possible to do that before then.
Yeah, but before that, he had a terrible reputation, and you were reappointing him as a dean.
So, I'm really sorry that he was allowed to remain in office.
Well, that you allowed him to remain in office.
Well, yes, but there wasn't anything legally I could do to remove him from office at that time.
Did you talk to him? Did you pull him in? Did you say, I don't think it's appropriate, I can't do anything legally, Mr Tudor, but I think you should resign?
So I, with safeguarding professionals, had all sorts of conversations with him.
What, face-to-face?
Of course I did. Also much work was done in the parish to ensure that the parish was safe.
And when you met him face-to-face, did you ask him to leave?
I believe he should have resigned.
Did you ask him to?
Yeah, I and many others spoke to him about these things. But legally, we did what we could do. And safeguarding is always about managing risk and minimising risk. And that was our focus until that day in 2019.
Well, you'll know that you've been asked to resign yourself over this. You've come under huge pressure from quite senior members of the Church of England. They said it just won't do. It's too much of a stain, basically, of coming from the past. Yeah. And it doesn't sit squarely with you running the Church of England.
So, one of the things that the Church of England is focused on at the moment is safeguarding and independence of safeguarding, which I support. And I think I'd just say to those who say, as you've said, you can't have it both ways. You can't, on the one hand, say we need independent scrutiny and accountability and then call for people to resign without proper process. So the things you're referring to with David Tudor are the subject of an independent review. They will make their findings.
And if they thought you screwed up, would you step down?
Yes, I would, but I want very publicly to say I am deeply sorry about the failings of that case. I'm deeply sorry that he was allowed to remain in office, but what could be done was done, but there were some oversights.
Can I ask, though, this was an individual who had been banned from being alone with children. This was an individual who had paid compensation to a sexual abuse victim. I'm not sure how you could then twice reappoint him as an area dean.
Yeah.
Why do you say that you couldn't do anything else?
His office was as a team rector of a parish. That was the office that he held. The area dean thing was an additional thing which went with his office.
But I'm not sure I would want to be working with someone who was banned from being alone with children.
Yeah, so I agree with you, but there are laws in this country about, what are popularly known as double jeopardy, and so it was not possible under the law to take action against this
Even
person.
though he was banned from being alone with children?
People can't be tried twice for the same offence.
But you can be sacked for gross misbehaviour, can't you?
Some people have said that the big challenge facing the Church is an HR rather than a safeguarding challenge. So I agree. What happened, which allowed him back into ministry in the 1980s, could not happen today. I received... Those were the decisions that were the mistakes, which I received from the past. and I dealt with them in the way that I was able to at the time.
What is it about your organisation? We know that the Metropolitan Police, for example, and other police forces have issues with men who see working under the carapace of a police unit as giving them freedom to sexually abuse either children or women or whatever, and to behave corruptly. What is it about the Church of England that seems to attract a very similar kind of man?
Well, I take issue with the way that you're describing this. The Church of England is a safe place for thousands and thousands and thousands of people, day in, day out. It's in the forefront of providing care and support for vulnerable people.
But men like David Tudor use it as a cover, don't they? They use it as a cover. And Smythe uses it as a cover.
They do, as also happens...
Perversions.
As also happens tragically in other organisations, and that is an appalling abuse.
You don't think you've got a special problem in the Church of England?
Well, we are dealing with that problem, and we are seeking independent scrutiny of concerns and complaints that are raised. We are subject to independent audit at the moment. And you don't need to take my word for the fact that things are much, much safer than they've ever been. You can go on the website of INEC, the independent auditors, to read their annual report and see how safeguarding in dioceses and parishes has been transformed in the last 10, 20 years. But the mistakes of the past, of people like David Tudor are making, reach into the present. Some people like me found themselves in a difficult position of not being able to act when I wanted to act. But I would simply emphasise I did act. The reason David Tudor is not in ministry now is because I suspended him from office when I could.
You have written this book, which is a beginner's guide to the Lord's Prayer. There is evidence that younger people are having a sort of increased interest in Christianity, while the numbers overall are dropping off. But the bigger problem is faith in the Church, isn't it? Not faith in God. So who is the person to take over the worldwide Church, the Anglican Church, and put an end to the abuse and the failure to deal with abuse?
Well, as I say, I think we are already making huge strides to develop our safeguarding, and you can look at the independent auditors and see what they say to back that up. But it's impossible to say the Lord's Prayer without saying sorry. It's impossible to say the Lord's Prayer without committing yourself to do better. It's impossible, and I think we need a bit more of this as well, it's impossible to say the Lord's Prayer without also being compassionate and merciful to others about their failings. We need all three things. We need penitence, we need a higher and better agenda, but we also need a bit of compassion and mercy. And people don't come to the Church because of the Church. People come to the Church because of Jesus Christ.
I suppose I would just say, in, your words, you perhaps can't have it both ways. You can't be merciful to abusers and also compassionate towards victims.
I'm not saying we need to be
abuse.
merciful to... Well, we need to be merciful to everybody, but we need to be... we need to be clear about what's expected. We need to be clear about what the demands are. We need to be clear about what right and proper behaviour is. These are the things that the Christian faith teaches us, and it's what our society is longing for.
Okay. And speaking of needs, in a word, do we need a woman as the next Archbishop of Canterbury?
We need the right person. I would welcome it being a woman, but we need somebody who will be a spiritual leader, who will reset the compass of the Church around penitence, amendment of life, compassion, so that we can build a better world.
Okay. Stephen Cottrell, Archbishop of York, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for coming.
Joining us this morning.